Hey everyone, I'm Leslie Cornwell, certified nurse midwife with Midwifery Business Consultation. I'm so grateful Terri and Dawn have had a few minutes in their busy schedule to join me today. Thank you, ladies.
Thanks.
Hello.
Hi.
So yes, I asked Terri last week. We had our usual meeting together, and she is building and remodeling a birth center. And I said it's so fun for midwives to see not just the end product, but while the construction's happening, and learn about the tips, because I think that's a big hot topic in a lot of the Facebook support groups. Is how do you design a birth center? How do you remodel? What are the mistakes you made? What are the things we could learn from? So if you both want a little bit of a background of who you are, we'll dive into your project.
Okay. Yeah, I will. I'm Terri Young. I got my CPM 10 years ago and became licensed in Idaho. We live on the border of Idaho and Washington State, and I had a solo practice for a few years, about 3 years, and then I rebranded in 2015 and hired a partner midwife to work with me. And I just love working with other midwives. I will never go back to solo practice. I'm just not that kind of person. I love having backup. I love to be able to process things with another midwife. And so we've been Spokane River Midwives ever since then, and we've just been growing since then. And I started in 2018 a birth center in Idaho, and that state does not license birth centers. So what we were going to rent as just like an office, we walked in, and my 2 student midwives at the time, we said, oh, this could be a birth center. We were just renting. And
Kind
so
of like this, that timing came to you a couple months ago where you were looking at a space and like, ooh, this screams birth center. I remember exactly you showing me the listing.
oh, with this one. Well, so that was back in 2018 when I did the one in Idaho in Post Falls.
Right.
So that's about minutes away from here, and that's what I've been doing since. And then Dawn will tell more when she introduces herself, that she actually found this location, which is a great location. Now we're opening up a licensed birth center in Washington State, where it's really needed. Here in Spokane, and the whole Spokane area, there's only been one freestanding licensed birth center for 20, 30 years. So they're really in need of another one. And so we're excited to be doing that.
Yeah. So I'll have lots of questions for you about that, but go ahead, Dawn, introduce yourself.
Oh, hello. So I've been in the birth world for 10, 15 years. I got my CPM in 2015, and then we've rushed over and lived in Hawaii for a couple of years.
How fun.
Of course, they don't have a licensure there, and it was a little shady on just how to start a business. So I didn't do too much on the islands, but we moved back to Spokane in 2018. I did get my license in Washington then, and then I've been working at a birth center in Spokane. I guess I've just always been, living in Spokane for over 20 years, and just seeing the opportunity. I've just always wanted to open up my own birth center. Is something challenging to me. That's not, catching babies, but more administrative work, and just a challenge to try and do something that nobody else in this area has, except, one other midwife group. So the perfect timing came around when Terri was available to have another midwife on board, and her vision was to open up another birth center as well. So we found this perfect location. It's great. It's 2 minutes away from one of the hospitals in town, especially a hospital that has doctors that really support out of hospital. And they're the ones that we tend to transfer to for things. And then, of course, being close to the Idaho border, it's just a great location. We had to look at really kind of not just the building, not just the walls that we have here, but there's a covered walkway that I see moms being able to walk back and forth outside, being protected, but being able to have that space during labor. The parking, there was a whole bunch of things that we were looking at when we found this building and said, yeah, this was a good location.
Yeah. Did you have any trouble with the zoning side or like the owner of the building? Like, how was that relationship built?
No, actually, this worked out really well. There was a nurse practitioner here before. So it has a lab box,
Okay.
all the rooms, a lot of them have sinks. Should we do the tour?
Yeah, I'd love to see your guys' space. I know everybody's very anxious and stressing it's in the middle of remodel. And what we'll do when you guys are done and you do your open house, we'll do the second part of this. So I think too many times the midwives are excited to show off the end product, but I think it's really important to do the remodel, the construction, and you talk about what were the things you're loving about it, the things that have been a challenge. Just give your words of wisdom.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, we'll start outside.
Okay. I know, John was talking about that beautiful walkway, and I was like, let's just see it.
I know. The owner of what's it called? The village?
Village Health.
It says it's a health village. There's a few, here's the walkway, and there's a seating area here, and this is a major road, and there's some nice grass here. So there is it says over here, Health Village.
Okay.
And there's some dentist offices, and he's the one that owns it. And so we were already talking with him about possibly offering nitrous because he knows about that.
Very cool. Well, even I could think of the cross referral potential you have with the dentist and the pregnancy needs. And yeah, there's could be some, I love that it's in a health village. So
Yeah, there's also a Montessori school over here, I believe, and then we have a lot of parking over here, and it's completely separate standing, so we don't even have a suite unit or anything. But there's ground down there for the Montessori school, and there's tons of parking back there. I guess we could show over here.
I know that's the challenge is when you're leasing a part of a bigger complex and there are suites next to each other, you always wonder about the sound and the barriers that direction. So you guys got it perfect, just its own building.
Right. So yeah, it's completely freestanding. We have our own address. We don't have a suite number. So, and then a nice lawn out here, and they maintain all of the walkways. And should we go the other side? I'll show them. They maintain the walkways and all of that landscaping, although Dawn's parents were very generous and helped us today with some of the vine, cutting back the vines out here because they were a bit out of control. We do have a stairway that goes down here to the basement. They gave us all of the basement to use at no extra cost.
That's amazing. So you get to use that for storage and just additional room if you need to expand for one reason or another.
Yes. So none of the licensed facility part will be down there because that's regulated by Washington State. So we just got the couch this morning, so I just had the box out.
Yeah. Well, I even see a lot of birth centers, they'll do the main level as a facility, and then the basement will be like administration room, storage, maybe a class, like just some sort of hybrid that's not part of the facility, worrying about handicapped accessible.
Exactly. That's what we're thinking about. And maybe even an apartment for student midwives.
There you go. I like that idea. You can get some study abroad programs going.
Yeah, we're very excited about the basement. So we're trying to get this front room ready for next week. So we've done painting on the floor and trim with this new light and flooring. So we've done all that. And
so do you have what's next week? You said you're trying to get it ready for next week.
We are moving clinic over here.
Gotcha.
It's not, we cannot advertise as a birth center until we are licensed. So we are
Yep.
not a birth center. So
Good
we're gonna have a big
answer.
metal sign with the logo here, our circular logo on these faux brick panels that we put up and painted. We have
Ah.
a designer helping us to make it look amazing.
So
Mhm.
the other thing I would add, am I in the picture?
Yes.
Is I was looking at different facilities, right, just by myself over the last few years. And then as a student, I was at 4 different birth centers up in Alaska, Utah, Idaho, Spokane. So again, I think I had a perspective of what I wanted, what I saw worked, what didn't work. And one of the big things is people focus on the birth center, but they don't focus on the office stuff.
Yeah.
And so many locations, they didn't have adequate office things, just for clinic. So they were always shoved back in the back room. And the office staff never seemed to have what they wanted. So that was a big thing when we saw this. It's wide, it's open, and I feel like our office people will definitely have what they need, because if you don't have good office, you're not going to have a good running birth center.
Right.
So you can't just focus everything on
The birth suite. Yeah.
This clinic and all of that financial stuff.
Well, even just the office space, like talking about administrator, if there's a director, you've got office manager, they have to have places to be. And sometimes we focus so much on, this is a place to have babies. And I was like, well, all the staff that's supporting the women having babies also need a place to have.
This is the first thing people see when they come in.
Yeah.
And I think it's just as important.
That's why we're really focusing on that. We're having some issues here. We're going to be doing a beautiful wood slat treatment here across this. And then we're going to be covering these countertops with some marble looking contact paper.
Very
cool. So these really yucky colors are going to go away. Yes, this is our huge desk. I mean, it's really, really huge. And so lots of space here. We're going to have a beautiful shelf back there, locking filing cabinets. So this is a really nice big desk space for our office manager and students and whoever's working on things with them.
Well, and I always stress to people, Terri, when you're looking for a space and considering, painting and remodeling exterior cosmetic things are cheap. So like, as long as you know the building, the electrical, the plumbing, the foundation, especially if you're considering buying the building with time, those are the expensive things. Those are the things you really want to watch out for. And unfortunately to midwives, we want to paint and design, but that foundation, it looks like this is a beautiful, strong built building.
Yes. Yeah, we think so. So this is the room that initially we're going to use for prenatals and postpartums. So we're going to be moving over our clinic or our office from my basement in Spokane Valley next week over here. So this is phase 1. And this was already set up. There were these automatic hand sanitizer dispensers everywhere, and already ADA, railings in the bathroom. So this is already good to go.
Excellent.
With the right size doorways.
Yeah, if you're taking over on a nurse practitioner's clinic, you've got a good layout for the medical hybrid, but then you can add the homey touch to it.
Exactly. And so that was phase 1, which we're really trying to finish up in the next week, of the front half, the waiting room and the reception area and the prenatal room and the bathroom. So back here is phase 2. Do you want to lead, Dawn? I'll film you.
Oh, sure. So the other thing about having the nurse practitioner is that they already had these, what we call dirty rooms, with the sink, all of this space for putting all of your sanitizing equipment, centrifuge, everything that you're doing with labs and blood work. So for Washington State, it's very specific. That has to be separate. So this was already established in this room. We're just going to basically keep as is. It also has the fan there. So it's little things like that, at least in Washington, each room is going to need certain things, a fan,
Yeah.
is one of them, you know?
Yeah.
Well, and these things all add up. If you're building a space, people don't realize all these little extra things compared to a standard build that you need. So a remodel is a fraction of the cost, but it's finding the right building and the layout to remodel. So you guys have found that for sure.
Yeah, our friends that have done it have converted residential houses, and that just seems like a whole different ballgame than what we're doing. So this is going to be the main birth suite, and Washington State requires that it be 300 square feet, which means we need to take out some walls. So,
But as of right now, we've been doing all the work ourselves. Of course, we hired a contractor who's gonna come in and demo and then put up the new walls. But if we're doing all the work ourselves right now, we haven't had to get the permits quite yet. So we're still working on that through the city.
Yeah, anything that's more cosmetic and not structure bearing, you typically don't need to get permits. But like you said, once you take out a wall and you want to make sure load bearing and structural integrity, you definitely need permits.
And that process hasn't been as expensive as I thought. I think in the end, it's gonna be around $1,000 for the initial permits, but that's just for the tearing down the walls. We'll have to get a permit for the plumber and the electrician.
yeah.
And so it's definitely a stage process. Once we tear down the walls, we'll bring in the plumber and the electrician. They can do their stuff.
Yeah, I think the biggest part of my budget when doing the 2 birth rooms was the special tubs and the plumbing out of the most expenses for labor for sure.
Yeah, and we're debating, we might just do inflatable pools and make them really nice, and so I
Yeah,
don't know.
there's pros and cons of that for sure, as far as long-term stability and infection and all those things, but you and I can
Right.
talk about it on the sidelines.
because- And because we are just renting this space, so, and he's letting us do what we want to it, so
Right.
Go ahead.
So we're planning on we have to bring this wall forward to make a second birth suite larger. It has to be 175 square feet or something.
165, I think, yeah.
165. So this will be a long, narrow walk-in shower and toilet is what our hope, and then accessible by both birth suites.
Very smart,
My-
very smart.
Close off this and then have it go, yeah. So over here we have some more storage. And then this is gonna be the second birth suite. And yeah, so we need to make this room a little bit bigger. And see all these, they're already set up with the hand sanitizer and the sharps and the sink and paper towels, so.
Yeah, you've got a lot of the medical regulatory things that are needed in place there. You just need to do the fine tuning of the layout and get the furniture and make it look like a room.
Right. So this will be the second birth suite, which we've talked about probably doing prenatals back here once we have the whole thing opened up, and leaving the main birth suite nice for births. And here's another exam room. There's so many exam rooms in here. So we
Gives you
still have
the opportunity to expand to all those wonderful community services under your team, Terry.
Yeah, and we can rent out this room. All the rooms have sinks. So this is, it's a small room, but
It does its
Yeah.
job.
yeah, it does the job. And then, do you want to see the basement? We'll go see the basement.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you gonna have the same flooring throughout the whole building, what you had in the entrance?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
We like that stuff. Yeah, so the basement, like we said, he said, just do what we want with it. It has a lot of potential. So,
Yeah, I could see you easily making some dividers and having some office space down here and having your administration. You could have the excess medical records, you could have trainings, you could have so much down here.
exactly, storage, we have all the storage going. And they already had, this room is almost finished, like the walls
Mhm.
and the light needs you know, some floors. So that's really nice that there's already basically a bedroom.
Yeah, if you need a midwife call room and somewhere and to crash and have some space, you've got that accessibility.
Yeah, this is our spot where we could make a big classroom because we don't have a big classroom.
Yeah, and in your state, because some states require you to have a designated room for childbirth education, can you consider the waiting room that space?
Yeah, I think we could. I mean, they don't specify about that.
Okay,
so that's
yeah, I know.
nice.
I think it's more CABC does that versus the state regulations. So that's why I was curious. Are you guys going to do the CABC accreditation on top of the state regulations? What does Washington require?
Well, the way I understand it, and it's similar to our licensing, where they had licensure for accredited birth centers before CABC. So
Okay.
they don't require it. So probably not.
Okay.
So this room's interesting.
It is. Well, but I could see that. I mean, with the bathroom, if you could, because there's already plumbing there, you could add your shower and make that your call room for the midwife. Like that would make a little more sense than that other room, because then you could have a little locker. People could keep stuff a little more permanent and have somewhere to take a shower, which is always nice for midwives to have a spare place for us to take showers.
Well, yeah. I mean, John just went. My house is 5 minutes away, so that's handy.
That's true. But I'm just thinking, you know, it's not just a shower in between and long hours. Like all of a sudden you get drenched in the birth and you're like, I need a shower.
Yeah.
Cool.
So here's our little walkway. So this could work real well for classes for people to come down here.
Mm-hmm.
Not laboring moms.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But or midwives to sneak in the back door or whatever.
You have a lot of potential, but that's what's nice is you've got that main area to do the care, and you've got this whole other level. You can have administration, storage, classes, the call room. There's so much potential. You guys have found a gem for sure.
Thank you. And I think the location is important because, you know, it's a long process. And if you were driving an hour away to your birth center, you know, that's just gonna
add up to time. Our time is very precious. Mm-hmm.
I think for everybody involved, the location has been great.
Well, and I think a lot of home birth midwives are transitioning to a birth center because they want central location. They want their driving time back. They're busy midwives, and so every little ounce you're on the car is less time away from your family. So having a birth center close to your house is great. Do you know what year this building was built? It looks relatively new, or like the 90s or 2000.
No, this is not. It's 67.
So they must have done an earlier remodel on the inside. But yeah, I mean, having a 100-year-old building versus a 50-year-old building makes a huge difference when you're looking at those foundational things.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, as when you are licensing, at least in Washington, they're going to be looking at everything from your water source to the, you know, the temperature of your water heater. And if you don't look at all of that stuff first, you rent a building and find out you have to invest, you know, $10,000 in the heating unit. So
these are things that are simple, but they're not simple. It's all about safety. So you want to look at, is there any mold? Is the electrical old? And they say it's outdated. There's a fire risk. Like those are the things that add up quickly, especially when you're leasing, because a lot of times the landlord will be like, sorry, you signed a contract. You need to update this part. It wasn't part of our original agreement. So you guys have been very wise so far. Do you have a tentative date when the doors will open? Like, do you know the timeline from the other birth center or the state, how long it takes to get licensed?
We don't know a lot yet.
Okay. I know, I think you and I were unofficially talking, hopefully by January, February, like if that's a realistic 3 to 6 months of just the process and doing the remodel and getting at least the awareness going that you guys are doing clinic here. So.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, when it's all done, I would love to do another tour with both of you and we'll put the videos side by side before and afters, and you guys can compare all the hard work you've been doing. So
that'd be great.
Well, thank you.
We're just in the middle, right?
Yep, you're just in the middle. I appreciate you showing us the down and dirty and what it looks like and the before and end result. Because I think too many times we just do the end result, and people need to know like the sweat equity and the time and what it takes to build these wonderful buildings. Any advice you both have for anybody considering doing a birth center or in the middle of looking at a remodel?
Well, I think that we probably could have planned out more like supplies, how much that was going to cost a little bit more upfront, because we've kind of just been throwing some money to the wind on getting some things, and I feel like we need to like, whoops, let's kind of really figure out where we're at now on that. So probably, you know, a lot more planning ahead of time before you rent a facility and what you really want to do money wise.
Well, and I think it's one of those things midwives traditionally use their own hard-earned cash. And I love helping midwives put together a business plan, getting some other funding options. There's so many wonderful, especially with Terri, I think you and I talked about it. Getting an expansion loan is a lot easier than getting a startup business loan. So if you're already a home birth practice and you're considering doing a birth center, it's a lot easier to get the construction loan and to get the this funding you need.
Yeah, and I'm in that process right now.
Yeah.
So that
And I guess it's almost perfect timing for us too, because you don't want to be doing this huge project and have, you know, the busiest month on record with births. So it's been nice that things have been a little more quiet so we can focus on this, and Terri's planned it well in the next couple of months that hopefully another midwife will come on staff so we can focus on the business portion of getting the facility license. But it's way too much work trying to go to an all-night birth and then do some paperwork later on.
Yeah, you've got to be realistic of us as human beings. I think midwives too much with everything we have going on in life. We're like, I'm going to be a midwife and I'm going to be a mom and I'm going to be a remodeler and I'm going to be a policymaker. And you've got to prioritize and be forgiving of ourselves as human beings. So I think you guys, especially Terri, has a lot more going on the next month and a half. She's not sharing right now. So you gotta be realistic on your steps of life. So
yeah. I compare, my son's getting married, so
and it's very last minute. Like it's not like you knew a year and a half in advance with the planning. Like you started the planning and they're like, oh, we're gonna get just married in a month and a half. So yes, you have to roll with the punches of what life brings you.
yeah.
So, well, perfect, ladies. I'll let you get back to work, and thank you so much for your time. It was nice meeting you, Dawn, and I know Terri and I will be chatting soon again.
Okay, thanks, Leslie.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.